Welcome to Newsmax TV. I'm Kathleen Walter. With us now from Washington, D.C. is Dr. James Zogby, the founder and president of the Arab American Institute and an expert on matters in the Arab world. He is also the author of Arab Voices, What They Are Saying to Us and Why It Matters. And Dr. Zogby, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you for having me, Kathleen.
June 30th marks Egyptian President Mohamed Morsi's first year in office. You've just released a new poll on Egyptian attitudes toward Morsi and the Muslim Brotherhood. How are they viewed by the Egyptian people?
Well, the support base that the current president has diminished significantly. When he was first elected, a majority of Egyptians were willing to give him a chance. He won the support of about 26% or so in terms of the overall electorate. But he had an additional group saying, look, he's the president. It's a democratic election. We have to support him. That has now evaporated. Mm-hmm. It was about 57, 58%. Now it's down to 28% of Egyptians who say either that we support him or that it's a democratic election and we have to go along with it. And most disturbing, I think, is that the only people who do support him are those in the Muslim Brotherhood. The rest of the country has abandoned him and finds no confidence in his leadership at all.
Egyptians are said to be organizing for June 30th. What can you tell us about the Tamarod movement? And could this bring about another Arab Spring in Egypt, if you will?
No, we don't know. But certainly the hope of the Tamarod movement leadership is that it will galvanize support and cause some change in the current dynamic. Right now, what you have is a minority president seizing all the reins of power and actually repressing the press and repressing dissidents and overreaching in many ways. This situation, this is a guy who has 27% support in the overall population, but he has all the reins of power. And there's no parliament. The only legislative body is controlled by his Muslim Brotherhood, and it's an appointed body. At this point, people who are favorable to him. It's elected, but it's elected by of people who, about 8% of the overall voters voted for it, and they're doing everything. So people don't know what they want to come out of this directly, whether they want the military to intervene or whether they want new elections. They're saying new elections, but they're actually, basically unfocused in terms of outcome. They just want change. I think we have to wait and see how this plays out to see what comes of it. But certainly it's going to introduce some new energy, depending on how the government reacts. If there's a massive repression, it could get even bigger and more volatile. We just don't know.
So what options do the Egyptian people who oppose Morsi have at this point, and how do Egyptians view the opposition?
Well, they're not supportive of the opposition overall. 40% of the population has no confidence in any of the political parties that currently exist. The interesting thing is that 40% share the identical views of the opposition about Morsi and about the various aspects of his governance, but they have not been able to win over the confidence of that disaffected group of people. And so what the Tamarod movement represents is the possibility of an effort to bring together the opposition with this disaffected plurality and to create a new political grouping. I don't know if that'll come, but it certainly is what's in the offing. I think people want a national dialogue. The president hasn't been willing to give them that. They want to scrap the Constitution, which was written by a hand-picked group of people, and they want to have a true constitution that represents all of the people of Egypt. The notion that I won the election, therefore I can do whatever I want and run roughshod over all of you is alien to democracy. And if that's what we're seeing play out right now, people want to change that dynamic and create a different culture.
Dr. Zogby, should the Obama administration and the West have anticipated the rise of radical Islamist regimes in Egypt and other Arab Spring nations?
I wouldn't call the Muslim Brotherhood a radical regime. I think it's an authoritarian one, but it's been fairly moderate in terms of its overall foreign policy, and it hasn't pursued an extreme agenda. So I wouldn't use that term. I think that that's the reason why you had some meandering, some hesitation on the part of the Obama administration, because they'd been working fairly well with President Mubarak. And they, on the one hand, were caught with this is a cry for freedom. On the other hand, when they saw the demonstrations, on the other hand, they didn't know how it was going to play out. And so I think that across the entire region, we're entering the unknown. If what you want is stability, we had it. If you want democracy, we're getting it, and it's not pretty. It's a little bit messy, and we don't know how it's going to play out. We're going to get some guys in office we don't like. We're going to get some we do like, but it's all up in the air. And the Arab world right now is up in the air, and that's what we're seeing with the Morsi victory. The 1 year later, this Tamarod movement, which is challenging him, and who knows, the military may intervene. We don't know where it's going to go, but democracy is messy, and that's what we're seeing play out.
Let's switch gears real quickly and chat for a second about Syria. It's expected to be among the topics, either formally or informally, during G8 talks this week. The White House last week announced plans to arm Syrian rebels and is said to be looking into the possibility of a no-fly zone over Syria. How does the Arab world view the possibility of Western involvement in Syria's civil war?
Well, there are those right now who are looking at the United States saying, you haven't done anything to help, and people are being slaughtered. And there's a lot of anguish about this, and I think it is affecting attitudes towards the United States. But let me tell you, the minute bombs start to fall, the minute the U.S. becomes directly engaged in this, if they do, which is what President Obama is trying to avoid, I think you'll see people's attitude turning on a dime. They didn't like Saddam, but too much of an American involvement in Iraq turned people against the United States. I think the U.S. is right to be hesitant about how we get involved and what we do to get involved. There's no, I think there's no way that either side can win this Syria thing. And the approach we've taken, which is whatever we do, seek a negotiated settlement at the end of the day with somehow keeping the government intact but creating a more open society. That's the option that is the only one that will work. There can't be a victor and there can't be a vanquished in Syria.
Iranians just elected moderate cleric Hassan Rouhani as that country's next president. He's Iran's former top nuclear negotiator. In a speech today, he said he plans to reconstruct Iran's relationship with the world. Do you see him altering Iran's policy with Syria? And how do you expect him to proceed with Iran's nuclear program?
Well, look, the president in Iran is always on a short leash. The supreme leader is not called supreme leader for nothing, let's say. He works to earn that title. He is the top religious and political voice in the country. So this guy is moderate in tone and in style, and I think that he's won the support of moderates and reformists. How much he'll be able to do remains to be seen. How much he's interested in doing remains to be seen. We certainly will not have the nutty speeches of Ahmadinejad to kick around anymore. Late night comics will have to find something else to work on. But I wouldn't say that what we have in Rouhani is a moderate yet. It remains to be seen how far he'll move and how far he'll be able to move. But certainly Iranian voters spoke and said, we want to change and we do want reform. The question is, will he be able to do it? And to what degree is he interested in doing it? Remember, he's one of the original Khomeini people, and has not always been in that quote unquote moderate camp. It depends whether his electorate moves him.
Last question for you, Dr. Zogby, is on the Golan Heights. Will it once again become a Mideast flashpoint?
Well, it depends. I don't think that anyone right now wants it to be a flashpoint. I think that what the Israelis would love to do is have a situation where they can say, you know what, we don't have to negotiate anything. This is over. We're keeping the land. That could aggravate tensions on the Syrian side. But I don't think that anyone in Syria actually wants to do it. The Syrian government knows that if it did become a flashpoint, they would pay a very bitter price, and they're not willing to aggravate it militarily. But it's something I think we all have a right to be concerned about.
All right, Dr. James Zogby, thanks for joining us today.
Sure, thanks.
And thank you for watching Newsmax TV.